Welcome to Unselfishly Me, a podcast all about self-love, self-care, and everything in between. I'm Jane, a personal trainer with a focus on self-love. Each week, we'll be chatting to someone about their self-love journey, how long it took, and what it took to get there. So today, I'm super excited to finally have Kay on the podcast. We have been threatening to do this for, I think like probably a year. And things have finally aligned for us. I've been going to see Kay for integrated healing, which she'll explain to you exactly what it is, but it is life-changing. It has helped so much. And yeah, we've been on a lovely journey together for like the last year and a bit. So I'm really happy that she can come and explain this stuff to you, because you guys have all asked me on Instagram when I share about her. You always ask me in the DMs, and I'm like, well, I think it works like this. So it's easier just to get it literally out of her mouth so that we can understand together, because half the time I obviously believe in energy and everything, and that's why I get such good results, but I don't really understand half of it. I just am a big believer in everything that goes along with this. So for me, I just trust, and that's how it comes about. But I think it's better if Kay explains everything. So welcome, Kay.
Thank you, Jane. So nice to be here today.
COVID, we're doing it over the computer. I mean, usually we would have done it. It was going to be in person. So gosh, it must have been must have probably been January or February last year we were talking about it, because we were going to literally
we were.
do it in person.
But it's nice to be here on live with you.
Yes, definitely. It's like we're connecting. It's so nice in these times. So do you want to just tell us, before we dive into all the topics, do you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I am an energy healer. I work with something called integrated healing, which we'll get into. But I have a background in beauty and massage therapy as well. So I'm a Durban girl, grew up there. And I did a little bit of traveling on the cruise ships. I did 2 contracts as a massage therapist. And it was really during this time that I really got into massage and all the things that were happening in the body, that, the underlying things, the energetic parts of it. And so this really summed up to so much more than a massage just being a massage. I wanted to know what is this all about? What is life all about? What are our bodies about? How do they know to just function? How does nature know to function? So all of these questions started happening then, and this was about, I think it was about going back about 13 years ago. So it's been quite a journey since then. And yeah, now I found myself more into the energy healing parts of it. I'm really connecting with people who are wanting to take that step forward and discover more about themselves. I'm finding that I'm working with a lot of people who are going through very much the same thing on the planet right now, living in fear, not really sure of what to do, what's going on, what's going to happen. But there is a way that we can sort of delve into that and create a life that we're happy with, and live our purpose as well. So that's what I do as well. I just help people come out of that stillness and just experience life in a way that is joyful. Life should be joyful. And I really feel like this is the right direction for me to be in.
100%. I mean, I was one of those people who was feeling very fearful recently, even though I didn't realize how fearful I was feeling. And then Kay just dug and uncovered all of these things. And gosh, since I had that session with you and with Jen, like the same week, it was so crazy how I had like 2 healings in the same week. Things have just been so unlocked for me. And yeah, it was such a slow month, and then suddenly bam, like after those sessions it just like opened up. It's funny how when you have fear and you don't realize how much fear you're holding, it just kind of like stops you from being open to other things, and you kind of find yourself in a rut. And I think that's where I was, really like just feeling like so stuck. And now I'm like, bam, things have opened up and I'm doing such a different path now. So thank you for healing that fear for me.
It's a pleasure, and I'm glad that I could be part of that journey with you and just help you discover, what was holding you back and what was keeping you stuck, and just being able to help you beyond that fear as well. And I do think that when anyone has a session, whether it's with me or another practitioner, or even when they do that their own kind of self-healing, I think that it happens when the time is right for that person. There's never a wrong time or a right time, but there is a right time for that moment and for that person. So for you, obviously, things led up to so much, and eventually you did a session with me and you had another session done with another practitioner at a late during the same week, but that was the right time for you, and it was for a reason. You know, you were led up to that point in time, and it wasn't a mistake.
No, exactly. And the two sessions were completely different. Like, you guys both do very different things, so it was all like on different levels. But just before I forget, I just wanted to touch on, before we go into the integrated healing, that you said about the self-healing, and that you are going to be teaching some self-healing classes at the end of this month. Am I right?
Yes. So what I offer is something, it's called Epigenetics. Now, if anyone knows anything about Bruce Lipton, he teaches epigenetics. Like, that's what his whole study is about. So epigenetics is really just the way that we understand our DNA, that we are not preconceived to the ideas of our families or our DNA. You know, I'm not sure how to best explain this, but if our family has a certain belief system, sometimes we hear ourselves saying, I'm just like my father or mother or whomever it is. And that's not correct. It's really our environment that creates the change within us. You could take twins and they will be exactly the same on a DNA level. Obviously, we can't change the blueprint, the way you look, but we can change the way you live. And you're not predestined to a certain way of living. So you can take two twins exactly the same at birth, put them in different households, completely different households, living in different ways, and they will be different people. They're not going to be the same people as each other. And it's because of their environment and their upbringing that creates their different characters and personalities. So what I teach in epigenetics is really how you can manage your own destiny. Your DNA is not your destiny. And I teach 5 different healing cycles. These are taken from kinesiology. It is an internationally accredited course as well. It takes a workshop takes about a day, but it can also be broken up into 4 days at about an hour and a half sessions. And this is something that you can do yourself. So I guide you through the whole process. And basically, it's whenever you're feeling that you're really overwhelmed with a particular issue, you can then stop and be by yourself and do the self-healing on you. And it's amazing, the shift that it creates, like an energetic shift. But this is so wonderful in what it can actually give us, and how it can help us move forward. So yeah.
It's such a gift to be able to do that, I think, because maybe and I've had this before, like, I really need to decide something, or I'm not feeling a certain way, and it's like a Sunday or something where it's like you can't get help. So at least you'll be able to work on yourself then, and be able to feel that shift.
Exactly. The course was actually created for people when they were stuck and they didn't have anyone available. So just like you say, on a Sunday, I mean, who do you go to? It could be in the middle of the night and you're having a panic attack. And no one's going to be awake at that time or available for a full-on session. So you do your own mini session. I find it's not as deep as going for an actual session with a practitioner, but it's going to help you just move past that overwhelmment. It just puts you, it just moves you off that edge of stress. So yeah, it can be very helpful.
Do you think that it would also give you a greater mind-body connection, like connecting back to your body and finding that connection, because then you'll be working on yourself?
Definitely.
Because I find a lot of people aren't connected or don't know how to connect to their body and their thoughts. I mean, I've seen it in training, teaching people how to do a squat and things like that. Like, body awareness isn't there. So I just imagine there's not as much body and mind connection as well. But then this would force you to have to create that, which I think in itself is powerful as well.
Yeah, so that's holistic healing. Holistic means that we're taking you are not just a physical body. You are so much more than that. You are emotions. You've got a soul within you, a spirit, whatever you want to call it. And it's taking all aspects. And that's my business is called Self Connections. And the self is really it's the essence of you. The essence is infiltrated into the physical and the emotional layers of you. So it's looking and being aware of all of those parts that create the person, that create you. You cannot nourish the physical body without focusing on emotions and, deeper self-awareness. If you truly want to move forward, you have to focus on all different aspects of it. So yes, definitely it's going to make you more aware of the different parts of you.
Amazing. So they can just DM you on Instagram, Self Connections, or I'll put everything in the show notes and they can just email you as well if they want to.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay, so now that I've got that out the way, I was scared I was going to forget. So can you tell us what is integrated healing? Because I think everyone's heard like kinesiology, Reiki, all the different words, but what is integrated healing? Because that's what you call what you do.
So I've also not found the perfect explanation to explain what it is. It's really something you have to try to fully understand it. And even then, the whole understanding part isn't always necessary, but you will feel the shift. So I'm going to try my best to explain it in a way that is easily understood and perceived. So there's different healing modalities out there, and I'm talking about energetic healing. So like you mentioned, the Reiki, the kinesiology, integrated healing is just one of those things as well. They all in their own right have their beautiful modalities to go through, to experience. They all work on the energetic layer of us. And if you think about it, everything in the universe is made out of energy. So what makes the sea, the ocean, stay where it is? Or it's the moon, it's the energy from the moon. And the moon cycles also affect everything that's going on in our planet, and it's all because of energy. So it's the same way we can think of electricity. We know that it's there. I mean, you turn a light on and you turn the switch on and the light comes on, but we don't see the electricity running through. Even if the wire were open, you don't actually see it. We just know that it's there. And we've got this energetic system that runs through our body. You've heard of chakras. They're different energy centers within us. In ancient Chinese acupuncture, they work with different meridian systems. So those meridian systems are also energetic lines that all relate to different parts or organs of the body. And those organs are all related to different times of day and also have their own set of emotions within them. So this is what we're working with when we're working with energy healing. So integrated healing is just that. We work through the different chakras. I think that's a whole subject altogether. And I know you've done a podcast on this before. So yeah, that would be really helpful for anyone wanting to learn more about the chakras, just to go and learn more about them. But we work in the different chakras. We work with an issue, a goal, and we ask the body different statements or questions. So when we do, and I'm going to mix kinesiology in here a little bit, because I think most people are aware of what kinesiology is. But anyone who doesn't know, we work with muscle testing. So if you go to a practitioner, you come to me, you'll lie down on the table, on the massage bed, you're fully clothed, and we often work with the arm. And we ask a series of statements or questions. So what we're looking for is when the body gives us an answer, it could be a yes, no, or a give, meaning this is the correct statement that we're looking for. The muscle actually relaxes. It's involuntary. You can't control it, unless, of course, you were set on controlling it. There's nothing that's outside of you that has control over you. You control everything within your body. But if you allow the process to take place, this is what's going to happen. So the muscle relaxes and we're given the cues to access certain information from the body. Am I making myself understood so far? Is this a bit confusing? Are you following?
No, it's perfect. I'm loving it.
Okay. So we work with, you'll come in and I'll say, okay, what do you want to work on today? And you might give me 5 different things that are going on in your life right now. We can have a little chat about it. You don't really know what the problem is. You just feel very emotional, out of sorts as well. So I'll say, okay, let's sit down. Let's go through everything. Now you've given me 5 different issues. And I'll say, let's work with priority. Because we're working with intention, the body will then give us the one that is of priority that we would need to work with today. And we often find that this has an umbrella or filter effect. So one of those 5 issues could be the umbrella issue for the others. You've sorted out one issue, the others will clear, which is amazing. So the body tells us by using this muscle as an indicator test, which of those issues is the one we're working with today. And from there, we will come up with a goal. And if you don't know your goal, oftentimes the body will either say, no, this person knows the goal, or otherwise let's use a scan list. And a scan list is really just, it's a list of different goals. Some of them are generic, some of them are could be quite personal. Once the correct goal comes up, because I'm not living your life, I'm not living the life of my clients, I often cannot relate to that goal for that person in front of me. However, I'll say the goal and that person will go, that's exactly what I need right now. Or yes, that's exactly what I'm trying towards. And it's just so amazing how it just all works together, it just flows. Because we're working with this intention, anything that comes up in the session will often pop into my client's mind that relates to this issue or goal. So any information that needs to be brought up, my client will suddenly say, oh, yes, I can remember this happened and that happened, or this situation. Whereas before they were not thinking about it at all. And suddenly everything just came to mind. And it creates this beautiful story that we can really look at after the session. We will then work with something called stress loading. So I move my hand around in a big circle and we basically get your eyes to move in a big circle from left and then to right. So what's happening here is we're asking the eyes to look for information in different parts of the brain to give us that are all related to your goal and issue. Any experience, any event, any spoken words from people that we need to be aware of, or actually not even just aware of, because we're doing this without really saying anything. I know it sounds very confusing. Sorry.
No, it's perfect. I'm sure they just need to all come to you so they understand. But yeah, it does make sense.
And so all of this information that we're getting from the body, it's if you can think of a shopping trolley. Every time the arm goes down, so in other words, the muscle goes weak, information is given to us, whether it's spoken or not spoken. So it's either conscious or unconscious. The information is handed to us on an energetic level. We throw this information into a shopping trolley. And when it comes to time to do corrections, it's almost like all this energy information creates its own particular frequency. And it then will tell us through using a different scan list or finger modes, which is something I'll get into a bit later. But it then says this is the frequency that this body needs in order for healing to take place, in order for the blocks to be removed, in order for this person to move forward. So corrections and the healing could be in the form of affirmations. It could be a card reading. It could be maybe just an energetic movement that is done on the body. Or so, for instance, I'll give you an example. I had a session a while ago with one of my practitioner friends. We do swaps every now and then, which is really great. And I was experiencing some pain in my knee, my left knee. And whenever I'd go for a run, I would just experience this pain. And it wasn't sore, but it was rather, it was annoying. I noticed it. It wasn't impacting my running. It was just there. And so the knees are about being flexible. And what came up in my reading was that in my session was that I needed to be more flexible about a certain situation. I was very closed off to what were the, sort of, I'm at a loss for words here. So I was quite closed off, but I needed to be more open and flexible to different ideas in order to move past that situation. And all the practitioner did was she took her hand and she moved it slightly over the knee 3 times. And now that's a form of Reiki, okay? And after the session, I've never experienced any more pain in that knee. And all it was telling me, because I do believe that anything that comes up in the body, whether it's an illness or a pain, it's a message for you, or even an emotion. It's a message for you that you really need to dig deeper. So the message for me and the pain in my left knee was really saying you need to be more flexible. How amazing is that?
Wow, that's incredible.
So this is what we do different corrections or healings, and there are hundreds, maybe even thousands. Every practitioner, although we do in kinesiology or even integrated healing, we can add different modalities into it. We have different card spreads, we have different crystals, or whatever it is. So every session you go through, every practitioner will have her own way of doing it, but it's all based on the same energetic principles. So yeah, and then we really just move on and flow.
Mm. I do find like exactly how you said, like you'll be like, oh, something, and then you're like, oh, this happened last week, and I've since then I've felt this way, and then it's like all connected. And like sometimes even you might not think of it in the session, but like I'll voice note you afterwards and be like, I just remembered this is what I think it is, and it just comes to you eventually, and then you're still able to clear it because you have now brought it to the surface, and then it's you've obviously cleared it in the session, but you might not have realized what it actually started with,
Yeah.
with that thought.
Yeah, exactly. And that happens quite a bit. So I'll often say to my clients, look, if it doesn't come to you now, I'll often say to my clients, do you relate, or does this resonate with you? Often it does. Sometimes they'll go, I can't quite remember what happened. And that's fine, because sometimes we don't always need to know what happened. As long as the subconscious has picked up on what the issue was, it can clear it that way. But sometimes it's important for us to actually know consciously what the relation from an issue was to what we're experiencing. And in a session, it might not be, you might not have to know, but afterwards it will reveal itself to you if it needs to be known, because then you've got more time to think things through. And I feel like the awareness of how things play out is healing in itself.
Yeah, for sure. I think that just knowing where that subconscious thought has come from is very powerful.
Yeah, definitely it is.
Amazing. So now I and everyone else always wants to know, like, how can you surrogate for someone? So like you are sitting at your house, and especially now with COVID, and like I'm sitting in my Zen den and we've done sessions. And when I tell people, they're like, I don't understand. How is she able to do it on herself for you?
So I go back to my principle of everything is energy. That's what we're working with. The whole healing modality is we're working with energy. Energy runs everything as well. I mean, energy is signals from our brain sent to our body that send out certain stimuli. It's all works together. And so when I do a surrogate session, I basically take on the energies of the person that I'm surrogating for. I don't feel the pain or feel the emotions that the person's going through, and you don't take on my energies. It's not like that at all. I kind of want to say it's not woo-woo, but it does sound like that. Hey,
Yeah.
it's a very safe way of being. I don't take on your memories. I don't know your secrets, so you don't have to worry about that. All I'm doing is saying on an energetic level, let me pick up your frequencies, but to my conscious mind, I won't know what's the information in those frequencies is. I think that's the best way I can explain it. I work with intention as well, and intuition and belief. Belief is so powerful. A belief is a thought that we continue to think. So it's really just with my belief in myself, with what I'm doing, the intuition that follows that belief, it just gives me this knowing that I'm doing the right thing. If I start doubting that, so I'll say, I take on the energies of this person. I'm now surrogating for this person on every dimension of their being, and I just go straight into the session. Now, if I feel that there's any doubt within my mind, then it's not going to work. Or it could, but it's going to be difficult for me because I've got the ego part of me going, are you sure you're doing the right thing? So in the beginning, it definitely did feel like that. You do, we're human, we doubt ourselves. But it's once I started seeing the changes in people, once I started hearing about the aha moments, seeing the shifts, meeting up with my clients a month later and them telling me all the different things that had happened to them, the good things, and how they were able to move on and deal with certain situations, that really put that faith and trust in what I was doing. And it goes for the surrogacy as well.
Yeah, I feel like we always wonder. And when you do it, do you use like a pendulum, or how do you do your scan lists and stuff? Is it like when you take I know you run your finger down thinking of the person, do you use a pendulum, or do you just kind of wait for your intuition to kick in?
It's different with every person. I really have got to feel how it is on the day. Um, so I either do self body testing. Okay, so this is something that everyone can do. It's basically if you stand up straight, and it's something that I also teach in my classes that I do. But if you stand up straight, keep a nice sort of balanced pose, and say yes. And feel, does your body want to go forward or does it go back? Does it sway? Does it lean forward or does it go back? And say no. Does it go forward or back? So when our system is balanced, meaning we're nice and hydrated, we're not thinking consistently negative thoughts, we're feeling pretty okay. The yes should really be a forward motion. Your body can actually lean forward if you allow it. And there's a reason for this. It's because our body has a natural tendency to move towards what it wants and to move away from what it doesn't want. The cells within us do that. So if you think or say no, you should sway backwards or lean backwards. If you move to the side, it means I don't know the question, or don't go there, I'm not ready for this. So that is one way that I can do it. Another way is using a pendulum. I've got a beautiful tiger's eye semi-precious stone. It's actually carved into a heart that my husband did, and it's so sentimental to me. And it has the perfect weight that is required when you're doing a pendulum testing. And so that it takes a little bit longer because of you've got to wait for it to sway. And really what we're working with when we're working with a pendulum is we're working with our energies again, but we're allowing the transfer of the energy within us moving into the pendulum, and it sways. So if you stand or just sit still for a moment and really focus on your heartbeat, or if you put your hand on your forehead and you focus on a heartbeat in the forehead, you can start to feel little pulses. And this is not actually your heartbeat. It's just the energetic layer of you that's pulsing. So this is the energy that we're working with. So a pendulum can take a little bit longer because I have to wait for the movement. And then another way is I use my fingers as a form of muscle testing. So I take my middle finger and place it over my ring finger, and then I apply pressure. And if I say that statement or I ask a question and I'm looking for a yes or no answer, it will either stay firm or it will relax. So when I'm looking for an answer, it will relax. I know that's the one to go with.
Sure. Okay. I'm like looking at my hand. I'm like, oh, that's interesting.
But you know, all of that goes with intuition as well. As I said before, I trust the process. I need to be completely out of my head and into that person's space. I acknowledge that person. I put love into the session as well, and that is also a very high energetic frequency. When we look at emotions, I don't know if you've ever seen the emotional scale.
Yes, I have.
Okay, so anyone who hasn't seen it, it's basically at the very bottom of the scale are all your negative emotions, your now I can't think of any of them, but
There's like
your
fear and
yes, and there's also doubt,
jealousy and
and
all that
there's
stuff. Yeah.
sadness, and there's anger, and all of those are quite low on the vibrational scale. And then higher up, eventually we've got love, and we've got it just moves up. So the higher the scale, the better the emotions, and then the more the better we feel. And so I don't know where I was going with this, Jane.
Is that the same as the your level of consciousness? Is that the same chart?
Yeah, it could be. because
Okay, because
yeah, so
they always say live, you must live, love, and
yes,
above, which I think love is
exactly. I think it's
500.
at
And
700
yes,
is really just that for complete fulfillment. But if
yeah,
you know your sort of monks and those people who go into really very long meditations really can reach those very extremely high frequencies. And it's very normal to go from high to low, to rock back and forth, but we just want to be clear that we don't stay in a low vibration. So when I'm doing a surrogate session, I make sure that I tune into that higher vibration, that higher frequency, and I sit there throughout the entire session. And what happens is I don't have any thoughts of my own. Not that I have your thoughts, but I mean, I'm not distracted by my own thoughts. I have a clear head. I'm fully into that session for that person. And I think that makes the difference.
yeah. And I think I'm actually going to send you that chart afterwards and see if it's the same thing. Because it's all about enlightenment is like the highest, and that's where you kind of want to be. And I suppose with that, that's the
Yeah.
highest joy.
Yeah. That's it.
Um, and
That's
all
it.
the other ones were like the fear and everything is like 70 and 80. And then you have
It's the same one, Jane.
yeah, and then you have like
Yes.
love, it's like 500. So and you can
Yeah.
also test because Janelle had tested for me for that what mine was because I didn't
Yeah.
know you could test that. So that's another thing that
Yeah.
Kay can test if you want to know your level of consciousness, which is quite nice to know in
Yeah.
the world because then it also like tells you where you are and what you're putting out there for other people. And I suppose for me as like a inverted commas light worker, it is nice for me to know like then you're really like okay I am on the right path because I'm literally at
Yeah.
500 which is love. So I was like no it's really it's nice to know that you are on the right path. So that's another thing that also leads into my question later where can ask what you can actually treat using integrated healing, because I was going to ask you about the messages and feedback but we've got into that already, with like how you feel it in your body, which it is you said you can test it, you can use your intuition and you kind of just like tune into that person and their vibration and their energy. So
Yeah.
what can you treat using integrated healing? I know it's like infinite amount of things, but like I said, you can test that. We'll just get a list of some things you can test. So you can test questions. There's like so much you can do.
Yeah. Pretty much anything. And I know it's really broad and it's difficult to understand because if you move from, the Western way of doing things is there's a certain you've got a certain illness or you're going through certain emotions, there's medication for that, and that's it. This is not it's really not that way at all. It can treat anything, whether it is physical, emotional, spiritual. Um, because we're working with those frequencies as well. And like I mentioned, so if you come to me for something that's physical, you've got a pain in the back, for instance, that pain is related to something. So often lower back pain relates to finances. And it's either you are worried or stressed about your finances, or you're confused about the finances, you're going through something that has to do with work, that sort of thing. And then mid back is more about being supported, and so where are you not feeling supported, and so on. So the feet are about stepping forward, so taking the next step in a situation or moving forward in life. The eyes are about if you are short-sighted, what are you not seeing that's right in front of you, and that sort of thing. So that could be physical, that's the root of the problem, and we pick this up during a session. And then it could be also that maybe you're experiencing a certain illness. Now, I've heard amazing stories of people who have cured illnesses where they were told there's no cure, but their own body was able to do the healing. And that's really what it's about. It's removing any blocks of stagnant energy within the system. And that's part of the corrections phase that we do in a session. But once we can remove those blocks and we can raise the energetic frequency of the body has its own natural ability to heal itself. And so, very much in the same way that we would take medication for a particular disease, if you're looking at the Western world or the Western way of doing it, this is like saying, all right, so this is where the body is sitting at on a frequency level. And so, what is the frequency? What is the medicine in an energetic way that is needed to lift that frequency? And that's really what we're doing. It could be something like anxiety. And this is one thing that I really I'm so passionate about, because I went through a lot of anxiety myself as a child, and then also just growing up into an adult. And it was only once I started facing those, everything within, that I learned how to overcome my anxiety. And it doesn't mean that I'm not immune to it, because I do still get it now and then, but I know what to do about it. I'm able to move from that place. I think it's important not to completely disregard when something like anxiety comes up. It's there for a reason. So we need to face it. We need to go inward. And sometimes a session can be difficult. It can cause tears, because we really do, we find out what the root of the problem. What is the message that is trying to be said here? What is the area of your life that you've been ignoring for so long, and now's the time to actually go in and see to it. So that's the sort of things that we can heal or help you move through when you come for a session.
Yeah, there's so many things. Like I think sometimes we've had a session just because, or I'm just like tired, or
You don't know,
I'm
hey?
done. And I'm like, okay, cool. I just feel like a session. And then things that come up are like things that I haven't even thought about for like 10 years. It's like, what? It's like past people have said something to you that you didn't even realize at the time. And now it's affected and it's actually come up. Something like that happened to us. And it ended up that you even were able to test where I saw whatever subconsciously triggered me, and it was like some Facebook post that I don't even know what it was, and then we figured out it was some Facebook post that actually had triggered me to something someone had said like 15 years ago. Like, it's just crazy. And
But
then
you've completely forgot about,
yes,
and
and then you're able
suddenly related
to clear it, and then you cleared it, and then you say some affirmations, and depends obviously. Sometimes
whatever comes up for you.
yeah, so sometimes it'll be like, here's a card that I had picked for you, and then it's so apt always. And then, or it'll be, here's some affirmations. And like now, this is the first time, this last time, that I've actually printed out, made the affirmations you've said I need, and I've printed them and put them into on my wall. So every time I get changed, I see them. And the one I will say, how is this? So let's just explain a little bit about my last session. My last session with Kay was all about, obviously everyone knows I'm pedantic about the virus, and I'm very like nervous, and it was more anxiety and fear that I knew. I didn't realize how much, but from that it came up about this, it kept on coming up, this feminine power. And it's this word has kind of been following me for about 6 months, I won't lie. And then so it came up with you in the session, and it was just all about fear and don't be fearful. And then I had a session with Jen, who does Akashic Records, so it's completely different, but same thing, feminine. And the cards that she used were feminine. And from your session, you were able to clear that for me as well. And I kind of like opened up to this feminine thing. And then the one from both of their sessions, well, I'll have to do a little catch up on this. But from that, your one affirmation was, I bend and flow with ease. And all is well. I think that's what it said. And it's so funny because now I'm doing the yoga teacher training, and I look at that every day and I'm like, lol, I bend and flow like yoga. Hello.
Literally, hey.
No, I was just laughing. I'm like, the universe has a sense of humor. But I even say that because I'm obviously not as flexible as I used to be, because I haven't done yoga properly for like 2 years. But I actually repeat that in my head when I start saying like negative things, like, oh, I'm so stiff, or I'm so inflexible, or my hamstrings. And I actually start saying that in my head. So it's funny how those things are all like connected.
Be careful. Yeah, be careful with those words as well. Like you were saying, I'm so inflexible, and or I'm stuck, or whatever it is, because it also relates on a metaphysical level. If you're saying things about yourself physically, what does that mean mentally, emotionally? And it's like the analogy of, we were talking about clearing up a room the other day. Whereas if you've got a space in your home that's just very cluttered, what's happening in your mind, it's also very cluttered. As soon as you clear that space, it just helps with clearing the mind as well. So often in our day-to-day life, we can see things that are a clear indication for what is actually going on within ourselves.
I will tell you a funny story. When I was doing my spiritual life coaching course with Andrew, he was saying exactly the same thing, and how things in your life are a representation of you. So he was basically borderline burnout, and his car battery kept dying. And then he was like,
Yeah.
over and over. And he literally said it was because he was literally burning himself out. So his car was a representation of him and how energetically how he was feeling. And only when he slowed down and he was like, "Hey, I'm overpaying for a dead battery," then did his car actually start working properly, when he himself had rested, and it was just a representation of him in his life. And it was so funny. It was so interesting. And now when someone has car trouble, I'm always like,
You
I
always
look at
look at
them and I'm like, I can see why that's happening. It's because of your actual
yeah.
life, like what's happening in their life. So yeah.
It's like I was struggling with having power. There was a power issue in the car, and I realized that related to giving away my personal power.
Oof.
Yeah,
It's so interesting.
it does relate.
Yeah. I love it. So those are just like a few of the ways that you can help people. I mean, there's anything. It could be, like you said, back pain. You could have grinding. I'm just using examples from people that I've seen tweeting recently. Grinding teeth. It could be, I know a girl that's gone to an endocrinologist because she thinks there's issues with her hormones and things, and there's nothing has come back. And then now she says she's grinding teeth and things like. I was like, you need to see a kinesiologist who can test for this, because it could also be trauma from when you were younger that you don't even know you possess, and things like that. There's just even little habits like that, like, why do you do that? Why do you grind your teeth? There's so many things that you can test for, and it often relates to something subconscious from a young age as well.
Often, yeah. I mean, so often our issues now as adults are rooted back in childhood. Um, so something could happen at a young age that you reacted in a certain way, and the body learned that this is the way you react to that situation, and it holds memory of that within the cells of our body. So now as an adult, you experience a very similar situation, you find yourself going through the same experience, and the body reacts in a certain way, and you might go, no, 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 it shouldn't react like that. What is going on? It's because of that memory that is now brought up, and you go through the same reaction again, and now you try and control it, but it's really difficult because it's almost like a program that exists subconsciously. So how do you change that, so there's quite a few ways. Obviously, integrated healing is one of those ways. Hypnosis is one of those ways. Also doing autosuggestion, which autosuggestion is training the subconscious mind, and we can do that through affirmations, looking at them every single day. Affirmations are so powerful because they contain a frequency. As you're saying the words, it holds a certain frequency that can help overcome whatever is going on within your system. And through the power of muscle testing in kinesiology or integrated healing, we can find out what is the best affirmation for you for that issue at that time.
I mean, all the ones that you give me are always so accurate. It's so interesting. I mean, I think you gave me 3 or 4 for this. Well, it was actually like one of them was quite a few. That's on one page. It was all like self-love ones. And then, yeah, there were 2 others that are on like a separate page. So there were quite a few, but they all really resonated and made sense for me.
Good.
What is your favorite part of integrated healing and what you do?
I love this question. This is, why I do it is because of those aha moments. In the middle, I always prefer one-on-one session where you can actually see me in person, or I can see you in person, because I just find it so much more personal. We are within the same space. We create this beautiful environment around us, and it's just full of love and full of happy, positive energy. And you really do feel the shift when you're in that session. However, doing it in a surrogate way over a Zoom call or distant session, it also gives you the same results. You also creating that energy atmosphere. It's just different. And then you know what I'm talking about, when you can see people together. Say, for instance, you're going for your yoga session, you do it together, it just creates this bigger atmosphere than doing it over a Zoom call.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, it's so as I'm going through a session to witness the aha moments coming through. to see that person link a certain situation with a certain emotion, or why they're experiencing things and how that related to this thing that happened in the past. And I'm like blown away every time I experience something like that. It doesn't always, it isn't always so that we do. Okay, I think this is something completely separate now, but I'm going to just move off from this topic a bit and then I'll come back to it. But if you feel that something is just so overwhelming and so traumatic that you cannot talk about, the beauty of integrated healing is that we don't need to talk about it at all. You can just think about it. We can go through an entire session pretty much being silent. And it's because we're working on that energetic level. Whenever you've got the answer in your mind, it's consciously or subconsciously, the indicator muscle will show me and I'll lock that into circuit, meaning I'm going to add that information into the trolley. And so this way, we're not reliving a moment that brings the body back into that stressed out state, you know. And I think that is something that is so unique and powerful to integrated healing. So just going back to, what was your question again? Oh, what is my favorite? Also, afterwards, when I follow up with my clients, it can be the next day, it can be a week later, even a month later. And they tell me about all the changes that have happened, all the positive things that have been implemented into their life, how they were able to move forward through a situation, and just seeing that progress take place, the evolvement that happens for that person. And that is truly rewarding for me. When I hear words of, you know, my clients will come back to me explaining to me how much the session has helped them. Those are heart words for me. They really get me on such a deep level. And nothing that I had been experiencing that day that was maybe not as happy as I would have liked it to be, nothing matters anymore. All that matters, suddenly it just raises my vibrational frequency. I'm flying high. It's an amazing feeling. And it just helps me to remember why I'm doing this work.
And you're so good at it, and you definitely meant to be doing this. I know you love doing beauty and you still do facials and massages and all that stuff, but I do feel like definitely you were drawn to this for a reason, and it's here to stay, and I'm so glad.
Definitely. So when I studied beauty when I was about 16. That's when I actually decided this is what I wanted to do. Because I used to go to get my eyebrows done, and it really made me feel amazing. You know, it would just be so different to my eyebrows. Okay, I really had very light eyebrows, very bushy eyebrows when I was 16, and suddenly I got them all done one day, and people started noticing that something had changed and were complimenting me, and it felt really good. And I thought, I want to be that person that helps people feel good about themselves. Doesn't matter how I can do that. And at the time, I wasn't exposed to anything like kinesiology. It just really wasn't in my existence. And this going through beauty, that was a way that could actually help me. And from there, I think I'm really good at it. But the massage part was something that was just quite amazing, because I found that I could take a person that was completely overwhelmed, completely stressed, and they would say to me, I never fall asleep in a massage. I don't know if this will help, but I've got to try something. And at the end of the session, it's like whatever was troubling them before, it wasn't even a thing. They slept better that night. They felt better. Their moods just elevated. And it passed on to me as well. So I learned very early on in my career how to create a beautiful space for someone and change that low vibrational frequency to something high that they could take home with them. And from there, I think that's where it really started, and it led me to the path of energy healing.
So, I love it. I'm really like, when can I book my next session? I love it. And just on that, like obviously Kay is based in Durban. So obviously pre-COVID I would go there, but everyone knows how pedantic I am. So we've been doing like distance and Zoom ones. And I don't get any less excited doing a Zoom one with you than in person. So
Okay.
you know, so
Glad to hear that.
so just if people are worried like, oh, it's not the same effect, it really is. I'm just as excited and taking notes and writing things down, and you know, just as excited to learn about myself and what's going on with myself and heal things as if I was in person with you. So don't let that be a deterrent. So if you're anywhere in South Africa or the world listening now, you can still do a session. And what I love about your new offering is that you put everything together in like a
report.
like a report, and you email it through, and it's so handy to have that, because then you can refer back and you can really like read through it again. I think I've read through it like 3 or 4 times, and just like take it in, and then as you think of something else, go back to it and be like, oh yeah, this could have been that, and just helps you investigate a little bit further for yourself.
Yeah. So that is nice, because it can also help you track your own progress. If when you're feeling like you're in a place of overwhelmment, nothing's working out for you, you just don't know what to do. And suddenly you walk out of that and you feel amazing. You don't actually remember what that point of time was like. But when you've got a report like that, and you can go back, say a month later, you can go back to that report and you go, oh my gosh, I can't believe that this was even an issue for me. I can't believe this came up, because that's not even a thing in my mind anymore. That traumatic experience, wow, okay, it's definitely not triggering me in the same way. So that's what's really nice about the report.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on and explaining these things so that I don't have to pretend I know what I'm talking about anymore. No. But so it's my turn to be a healer now, and I chose you a card with my pendulum from The Universe Has Your Back. And I'm going to send you a picture, but it says, I recognize that I've chosen fear and I choose again. I choose love.
Beautiful.
So I'm like, I will send you a picture, but now it's your turn to think on that, and to think if there's anything that you need to add more love to in your life, maybe today or in the next week, or maybe it's going to come up and then you just like shoot sunbeams at it and be like, no, I choose love.
That's
So you
beautiful.
see?
Thank you, Jane. I'll keep that with me.
And yeah, if you want to book with Kay, you can find her on Instagram at Self Connections, and I'll put everything in here so you can just click it. And then when I post the soundbite to Instagram, obviously I'll tag her in that as well. But highly recommend you get in touch and book a session, especially in these uncertain times when we're all feeling so ungrounded. It's like, yeah, it's been like almost a year of feeling a bit lofty, like,
and that's
in the air.
one thing I wanted to add is also, sometimes we just feeling out of sorts and we don't actually know what the problem is. This session will help you as well. It'll just help you give you some direction. It'll help you also just find, why are you here? Like I said in the beginning, what is my purpose out of all of this? And so it just moves you to that place of being comfortable with what's going on around you.
Yes, because everyone knows I always have questions, and I always go into a session knowing what I want to ask and things like that. But you actually don't feel pressured to need to book for a certain reason. You could just be like, I don't know why I'm feeling like this. I'm usually, like, for example, I'm usually so upbeat, I'm so happy, and I just feel sad, or I don't know why I'm feeling so weird. That is your body telling you that something's wrong and you need to heal it, but obviously you don't know how to do it. So if you book with Kay, she will then test all these things and it will come up. It will definitely come up. The reason, whatever you're feeling and why you're feeling like that, is going to come up. You can heal it, and then you will feel so much better and move on with your life and have a better life and a more abundant life and a happier life. So don't feel like you need to.
And that's what it's all about.
Just have feeling joy, and just, life shouldn't be hard. And there are ways that you can make it easier, and you can make it more flow and lighter. And I just feel like a lot of people sit with that heavy load on them, and they don't know how to change it and where to go. And then they struggle because you're just struggling and slogging, when you can actually heal these things that you don't know are even there. And then you will just feel lighter and have a more joyous life. And that is what you want.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm so excited for this session, so for everyone to hear and to understand, because could never have said all of this in an Instagram story.
No, and I still feel like there's so much more that I want to explain about it. So
Well, then you're going to have to come back. So
I know
that's
we've
good.
already been chatting for an hour. Wow.
We'll do a part 2, and then we can chat about all of those things as well. But yeah, if you want to sign up for her self-healing course, I'll put the details, but basically just go to Instagram. And
yes, actually, I'll be putting together quite soon, in the next week or so, an inner child healing workshop. And it's really it's a series of imageries that we do, and it's changing or affecting the subconscious mind to heal the wounded child within. And it's a part of the energy healing modality that we've taken and just placed upon this the series of workshops. So if anyone's interested in that, please let me know. I can put your name down for that.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. I'll put all of that in the blog post. And yeah, just if you can't find her for some reason, just DM me and then I will put you in touch. I'll connect you. But I think that, yeah, it's going to be amazing. I'm going to do that workshop. I'm so excited because obviously I like all the energy stuff. And I want to be able to do it on myself as well. Yeah, I'm just like so excited for this. I hope it's shining through, everyone. But thank you, Kay, for giving up your time to come on and explain these things that we don't understand, that we now do.
It's such a pleasure, Jane. And thank you also for just shining your light and holding this space to help people become aware of the opportunities and things of what is available for them.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
I do it so that I can shine a light on you and you can shine a light on me. We just shine all the light everywhere. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next week. Thanks for listening to Unselfishly Me. Follow us on Instagram at unselfishlyme and check out our website www.unselfishlyme.com.